What's up, friends? Hope you're in for a fun video here. We've got another game or two, or three, actually, where Red Phosphoru is going crazy. And, you know, he's normally been the one setting the trends recently, at least just trying to push the limits, right? At least on Arabia, a lot of other players, they're playing with standard openings. And Phosphoru is kind of anti-standard opening, and so he's playing as the Jurchens here. New civilization just introduced this past week. Then we got Doomster as well, a fantastic player. And I would say he's definitely more standard than Phosphoru. However, the thing about him is he is very chaotic at times. So we'll talk more about that. But anywho, this is actually the first game that Phosphoru ever played with the Jurchens. And we already have a lame, because his opponent just kind of knows this is how it goes. This is how it goes when you play Phosphoru. There's going to be laming. And we're going to see something pretty cool here. Obviously, we're speeding up. Check this out. Phosphoru, he knows that his opponent, probably he's done this a million times before, is going to block this. People are really good at it these days. Off screen is a villager. So he's like, I can keep the boar there. I can keep the boar there. But now the scout can't stay because the scout has to back away. Otherwise, it would get hit. And now that boar is actually coming back home. Now, why that's really important, I mean, Phosphoru needs that. Like, Phosphoru is going fast castle. If he loses a boar, it really throws off his builds. And in some ways, you can adapt to that. But with new chicken Arabia, sometimes you'll get these chickens, which you can't push in with the scout. It's harder to adapt, right? So, I think that was a really good play. Like, him sending the vills forward. We're going to see more about that. But yeah, so he's going fast castle. Maybe I should slow it down a little bit because we have way more to talk about now. You guys are probably like, well, what is he making, right? Well, this civilization has mounted units that attack 20% faster. So that's what you might think of initially. You might think maybe he's going to play into Lancers, which could be an option. But no, because the thing about most of the units that Phosphoru tries to rely on, or any unit that anyone can be super aggressive with in Age of Empires and find timing attacks, it's a unit that has really good stats right out of the box, right? Right when you produce it. And that unit is this bad boy. Grenadier, you don't need to research chemistry for, even though it's a gunpowder unit. It is slow. It is expensive. It is not free, by the way. I think that's just Capture Age being bugged out. It's 70 gold and like 30 food. And that is the unit right there that Phosphoru is going to try and rely on. Now, I can tell you that this is his very first game with it. Maybe he went in, you know, into like the scenario editor and messed around. That I didn't ask him. But there will be proof that this is his very first game with it in a second, which is pretty hilarious. Now, Doomster is, I mean, the news isn't out yet, right? This is the first time that Phosphoru is playing with this. So he might have been thinking through what his opponent would do, but he's also thinking, what can I do? And the Wu get 60 food when they when they build a military building, so it's really good to go for the early barracks. Their infantry regenerates. It's a really nice infantry into archer civilization for a map like Arabia. So, again, Doomster can be very, like, anti-meta player himself. He isn't the player who's going to go scouts or archers every game, but he's playing the Wu. Like, this is what the Wu are good at. Here he comes, and he sees a couple villagers here from Phosphoru. Phosphoru just trying to get as much food as he can for the start here. Now, I do have to say, you know, the game's never as simple as just the map, but this map is crazy. I don't know what Phosphoru had to do to get this map, but this map is absolutely ridiculous. He's fooled off to the side, full walled to the side, barely had to work hard for it. I mean, the opponent's map, way more open, way further from the edge of the map. So Phosphoru's taking advantage of the map, certainly. And the man-at-arms are here. So I slowed down just because I wanted to talk through what the plan was. But he doesn't have to build, he doesn't have to really rely on blacksmith upgrades. And he doesn't have to build a castle, right? Or like Bohemians. Bohemians, you can research chemistry in Castle Age, but you have to build a university, spend 500 resources, then make the archery range, then make the hand cannons. So this is a hand cannon unit. It works a bit differently than a hand cannon. It's different cost than a hand cannon. But you could pretty much make them, like, right away. So the pressure's coming in from Doomster. He's just attacking the walls. He is going to have the archer follow up. This is as standard as it would probably get. This is not late with the archers, in my opinion. If you're going to get the fletching timing in, this is a pretty solid number to follow up with. Could have potentially gone forward with one range, I guess, or one archer, I guess. But the scout could have always killed that. So you'll never see players do that. And now he's here. So investing into his eco, setting up to have good eco long term, and then good old red Phosphoru. He's out to kill as quickly as possible. 0 on food. And so here's where I think, here's another aspect before we even see the unit that makes this strong. Okay, pause. The reason I didn't actually ask Phosphoru if this was his first game. I'm telling you, this had to be his first game because he removed his archer hotkey here. Okay? Why do I know he removed his archer hotkey? If you didn't see it, he just queued up a couple archers. Because I was watching him like 2 days later, or maybe even a day later, and he needed to go archers. He went to his hotkeys. He removed the hotkey from the grenadier and replaced it with the archer hotkey. So the guy's not even creating a separate hotkey. He's just like you guys. He's like, no, I don't have the mental capacity right now to think about that. I'll just change the hotkey every single time. Phosphoru, that's so funny to me, dude. That's so funny to me. Anyways, on screen, you're going to see the cost of a hand cannon. And you're also going to see the cost of the Grenadier here. And so I think since this build, at least for Phosphoru, requires a great deal on gold, typically, and he's normally buying the food, it's actually quite good that the unit is 70 gold for this type of rush. I think, if anything, if it cost more food, it would be tougher to make a lot of it this time. So there's a little bit of splash damage with this unit. You've got 11 attack. You've got 6 range. And, I mean, it's 11 attack at 16 minutes. And there's a bit of blast radius as well, which normal hand cannons don't have. And my take when I actually saw this unit was I don't actually think the unit is going to be very good in most normal situations. Normal situations meaning the attacks are around 20 or 21 minutes. People can afford to make a lot of things. Doomster, he knows this is an all-in from Phosphoru. He doesn't have Vil production behind this. So he could just toss as many units as possible against this, and maybe he could be able to manage it. You can kind of see, you see how multiple units are damaged here? That's a bit different than a hand cannon. And I also have to say that it's more menacing than a hand cannon, right? Like, the sound is new. It's more bombastic. You know, it's more bomby. The dudes look pretty cool carrying their bombs. I mean, it's a cool unit. It's a super cool unit. And Phosphoru, he knows that a lot of what Doomster was trying to do there was just stall out. And he, a while ago, snuck a villager to the side. Siege Workshop's on the way up. But right now, what Doomster's trying to do is he's trying to pick off reinforcements. And since he's committed to Feudal Age, he's going to mass as much as humanly possible here. And this gets really interesting. So villagers are getting harassed. Scouts are on the way. Again, just 35 HP. So it's not really a strong, tanky unit. You can actually do friendly fire with this unit as well. So that's something to be careful with. In fact, I think the scouts ended up killing the villager there. But they just keep coming. Double range. Food continues to be purchased. Again, that gets more expensive over time. If it had a higher food cost, would be a little bit more difficult to do. The Doomster, though, 41 Vils and doing what he can to just stay alive here. But, man, when you get to this many, they're just nuking your eco. And watch this. When they're in a group like this, look at how they do damage to so many different units at once. It's weird because this is bombs, but it's kind of similar to an Arambai. Arambai have their darts, and they're not always accurate, so they're hitting a lot of targets in the group. Here, I think they're potentially a bit more accurate than an Arambai, but the blast radius is doing the damage. And Doomster's just like, he's killing a couple units here, but he's lost so much eco now. We've just hit the 20-minute mark, and he's probably sitting here scratching his head like, what was I supposed to do? Like, what more could I have done here to properly punish this? Again, part of that's just, honestly, Phosphoru played a good game, and he had an amazing map, and he took full advantage of it with a strong strat. But it feels impossible to stop this. And impossible to have a good economy right now if you're Doomster. He is trying to mass up the scouts. So I've watched maybe a dozen games of this so far. I'm not going to show you all of them, but the scout play can actually work if you have the scouts earlier. And this might be a good example of it. Obviously, a lot of scouts are going down. But if the units actually engage here, God, man, Doomster is fighting with the pathing here. Just needs to let his units fight. And you can see they get killed off. And again, there's also some friendly fire damage there as well, which plays its role when you're attacking right next to them. So there's only, like, that was Phosphoru's whole army, guys. Blue still has a nice Vil lead. And, I mean, a nice Vil lead is now 4. And Phosphoru's got to come forward, and Phosphoru really wants to utilize his rams. And he hasn't been able to hop out with the ram yet. So, I'm going to show you a couple games here. This game is heating up. We're going to potentially see the final fight here. But it's a weird thing. It's like, this unit feels like it could be very strong in some situations, but clearly has its weaknesses as well. Now, I think you need to split up your scouts. I think players are going to get used to splitting up their scouts, not grouping them together, because if you group them together, more of them are going to get hit. And that's probably something Doomster regrets. Doomster lost so many units there, and Doomster taps out and calls the GG. So, am I saying, like, going scouts against this is good? Not necessarily, but I think the scouts could work. We saw that fight that scouts could work. They came out a little bit faster. But it's a gunpowder unit with 11 base attack, and you only need a range for it. So it's super accessible, super easy to get to. Let me show you the next one. Okay, so Doomster, I know, is not, like, the focus of this video, per se. He really should be in another capacity, by the way. He's a really fun player, and he's on my list. But Doomster really thought about this, and this just makes for excellent content. So I want to go back to my point that I just made. By the way, they immediately played each other. Same Civ matchup. This wasn't a day later. This was the very next game, okay? And so Doomster probably got to look at the tech tree, think a little bit about it. Here comes Phosphoru trying to get what advantages he can with the lame. And he said the same thing I'm saying. He's like, it's really heavy on gold. So more than anything, we need to deny the gold, which in all fairness is like a lot of Phosphoru's strategies. But still, I mean, it's just one of those weird things. I feel like actively mining gold here in Phosphoru's case actually benefits him more than it would if a unit were to cost food, or even a bit more food. So, anyways, Doomster's playing as the Woo again, and he just went Man-at-Arms. That did not work previously. And Phosphoru's base is way more punishable this time. That was one of the best bases I've seen in a long time. So it wouldn't be as easy for him to maybe get away with this. He's also stealing, the elephant here. Doomster tried it against him in the previous game. Doomster ended up not getting the elephant. And Phosphoru has a villager nearby. And he is actually close enough now where he's able to use the villager if he needs to. And Doomster expected that villager to be used in that way, and the scout just brings it in. He's really good at controlling the scout and getting the lame down. And with the Jurchens, your resources don't decay. So this elephant's sitting here with all of its food left. At 47 food, he can always get the goats, the sheep. This bonus really helps if you have messy eco like this. And that, like, when I was watching this, now there's 2 sheep headed this way as well. I was thinking, okay, well, I think it's over. Like, Phosphoru's going to have so much food. He's not going to struggle whatsoever to make the first couple Grenadiers. And then Doomster might not be able to go Fast Castle. And I think, initially, Doomster's plan might have been to go Fast Castle here. The 2 farms indicate this. But, honestly, he might have needed the farms anyways because he's out of chickens. And he is not going to do that. So he's down 400 food from the elephant. He's down 200 food from the goats. Obviously, the opponent gains that. That's quite a resource swing. And Phosphoru, we know what he's going to do at this point. And here comes Doomster. So if you look at this, the golds are all very exposed for Phosphoru. This gold's super forward. This gold's super forward. Obviously, he's going to take this one. And Phosphoru's scout is weak because of bringing in the boar, so it can't really actively do too much. And Scout is looking to see what Doomster's doing. He doesn't see anything right now. Now he knows. So I'm going to keep some aspects of this sped up because we have multiple games to go through here. And I think this is kind of fun to speed through it a little bit. But now he can't take gold. So I think Phosphoru had the oh crap moment. Comes over here to take this gold. But now Doomster brings the Scout over and is immediately on this gold as well. Now Phosphoru wouldn't you normally build a tower. He would normally sell a stone. But he didn't really need to sell the stone here like he would in other situations because he had the better eco. But he builds the tower. The Doomster fills one tower with 5 bills. He's bringing another tower here. He's going to fill that with 3. So what you'd normally have in Phosphoru's position is you'd have the barracks on the way up. You'd have the range on the way up. And he'd be ready to make the Grenadiers. But he can't do that. He has to make a new lumber camp, which is horrible, by the way, Phosphoru. Because he was off of this wood. And he is eventually going to lose access to this gold. I think he's basically hoping that he can get the range, get the units here in time. But yeah, we'll slow it down just for a moment. And now he's off gold. He's off gold. He still doesn't have the range. So I saw this game. I was like, this is sick from Doomster. This is sick. It's an excellent tower rush. And he sent more than you would typically send. He went for fletching as well. This is really good. You're still going to have the same problem. You're still stuck in feudal age. You still might need to eventually face up against these things. But Phosphoru isn't actively mining gold anymore. He's still going to have the weakness of maybe not having a lot of food. Granted, he's still got like some sheep and some berries left. And I'd be thinking so far so good if I were Doomster. Not bad. Now the problem becomes all of these towers are forward right now. They're aggressive. And so the weakness for Doomster is he doesn't have any defense whatsoever. It's all offense. And so he's kind of looking around to see what's my opponent doing, where's he going to go? And those units seem to be heading directly towards his base. One of the best things you can do against a tower rush is to counterattack. Because they're going to have to invest in defensive towers. And that's one tower that doesn't end up coming up near your base. So that's what happens. 2 units are on the way. This one's a little bit weak, but killed the Scout and is walking forward. And Phosphoru, his way to get gold in this situation is to simply sell stone. So he's just selling the stone, which is kind of hilarious. But, I mean, that's the best way you're going to get it. It's not as great as actively mining gold, but it's still pretty damn good for time. And you don't need to really make too many units to be effective here. So we're 19 units. Doomster now has no defense here. He was too late. Didn't track the units properly to know they were coming to the wood line. And, I mean, Phosphoru is pretty much camped right here to stop any future towers from going up. And these 2 units are wreaking so much havoc on the eco. Doomster doesn't lose a lot. His eco's a mess. He needs a lumber camp somewhere else. But he doesn't lose a lot. And he's going to try scouts again. And in many ways, you could be thinking it's harder for Phosphoru to continually do this. And it is. Because selling the stone is only going to work for a certain period of time. Because now he's got to, like, sell the stone to get gold. Then buy the food. There's an extra step in the whole market abuse shenanigans. So Doomster clears this. He can get back to wood. He's got some scouts on the way. And he builds another tower. So he's creeping in here to a relatively exposed eco from Phosphoru. But there you go. He sells the wood, buys the food, sells some stone. And here we're back. And it's this never-ending cycle now, which is exactly where we tend to end up with this feudal age versus castle age. And we're going to have time to experiment with this. There's going to be different games I'll show you. But some of these strats with the way he plays, you know, think about when you just first started playing the game, right? Like, you probably couldn't kill a knight to save your life. High stats units, high attack units, they're just good at certain times of the game. And there's just so many of these here. And there's just not enough from Doomster to be able to keep up with this. There's so many units. They're spread out from Phosphoru so he doesn't kill himself. And the scouts are going to go down. I mean, these towers are still everywhere. But now there's a siege workshop here. Phosphoru also brings a couple villagers forward, so now he can just take that gold. And Doomster just realizes, yep, that didn't work. Denied every single gold. Still not enough. This unit is just insane. The timing at which you can get it, what it can do is just absolutely insane. So, I feel as though this unit is so good in the fast castle scenario that maybe you don't want to go feudal age against it if you know it's coming. Now, how do you know it's coming? You don't always know it's coming. But still, I feel like there's maybe some other things to try. I got one more game for you. All right. So, there were a couple more games after that between Doomster and between Phosphoru. I really respect Doomster because a lot of people don't like to play Phosphoru. Especially many times in a row, they may just not queue up if he's queuing up or just wait or Alt F4. I mean, Phosphoru himself, sometimes people are just Alt F4ing if they don't want to play a map or a setting. It happens, right? Doomster's like, no, give me that. He found some cool ways to try and navigate the Phosphoru build, okay? But this one here, I felt was like a real interesting finish to it, right? Because there wasn't a lot of backstory. Another player comes in, and here we have another lame, by the way. But the word was getting out there. It had been 4 or 5 hours this evening. Phosphoru played a bunch of games. I don't know Demo that much. Demo's this blue player. His name is Dinosaurio right now. But I'm guessing he was aware of what was happening, right? So people were just trying to figure him out. Phosphoru coming out here, trying to take another Rhino. This would be a massive food swing, just like in the previous game. And just like in the previous game, he brings the Vills. But he's going to manage this really well to bring this Rhino back in towards his TC. De-aggroes it so he doesn't lose his villager there. Does end up losing his scout. But this is a Rhino coming in. He'll also have the sheep. He'll also have his other 2 rhinos. Did he lose a Rhino? No, he should have his other 2 rhinos. And so the lame pans out for good old Phosphoru. Now, I want to show you something. So, a couple months ago, I made this video on Phosphoru in his first tournament set. And it was his epic series. Phosphoru is a big underdog. No one thought he could actually do this type of stuff in a tournament, right? And the key thing that was highlighted there was the scout. And in that game, Phosphoru knew his opponent was going to have a good fast castle build. And he felt as though, I've got to do something to disrupt that. I have to make it chaotic. I'm not just going to build my castle at home. And so the scout got lured away. And, the opponent was just like, good, his scout's out of position now. Sorry, his opponent was thinking, I'm just going to kill the scout now, right? Which is always a good thing. And, well, then the castle from Phosphoru went up on his face. And that's not what Doomster did the previous couple games. He didn't do anything like that crazy. I guess the towers were pretty crazy. He didn't bring the chaotic energy that Phosphoru sometimes brings in his games. So, anyways, I bring that up because I just found like it's so fitting that Phosphoru is in a situation. He's up against the Spanish. He doesn't have the scouting now. And it's just like kind of the perfect moment. Maybe I think too much about these things, but I just thought that was really cool. How we're in that situation. And when I was watching this game, I wasn't really sure exactly how Blue was going to play it. I assumed he would just go defensive castle. Defensive castle conquistadors could be really good. So, Blue still having the scout is nice to be able to recover from this because you can quickly push in the zebra. Like I said in the previous game, I think on chicken maps, I think getting lamed hurts you so much more because you need to invest into the walking time to get the resources. You need to invest into a mill. This scout situation for Blue actually gives Blue a manageable situation. And we've got 1 villager on stone for now. Phosphoru at home is actually using a villager to get even more food. And again, there's going to be so much of it. I think there was even that goat that just came in off screen. So, great situation. Again, laming is insanely strong. Some people will tell you it's not. If you're good at it, if you take advantage of it, it can be very, very strong. And it makes matters even better that there's no decay for the Jerkin. So it's the no decay on the food. And then also this unit, which is just like an omega strong gunpowder unit out of the archer range. which seems pretty good if you can get the timings down. So Phosphoru builds the market. He's going to eventually get to his blacksmith here. And he does go market blacksmith and then builds the barracks in the range later on. You could, in theory, build the barracks earlier, but the build's not really set up to have that wood right away. And now blue is the scouting. So sees the golds, sees the wood, sees the market blacksmith. Maybe blue is wondering, what's he going to do? But I think blue's probably thinking, like, blue should know what it is if blue was watching games this particular evening, which I just don't know. I know I was. I know I was. This is the first day Phosphoru was playing this. Maybe blue had no clue. It kind of seems like he doesn't have any clue, but you know what he's going to do? Bring his eco forward to Phosphoru's base. When you have to wait for that range to go up and you've got to get the units up, you know what can hit you? Your own medicine, dude. You can't even look at this and say this is cheesy or silly if you're Phosphoru, because this is what Phosphoru does to people when they go fast castle. It's crazy we're at this, though. Like, this is a 15-minute castle age from Phosphoru. The castle age time from blue was 14:18. That is ridiculous. But now we've got gunpowder, all right. We've got the Conquistador. And that castle is directly on Phosphoru's face. Now, what this does, look at it from Phosphoru's perspective. You always have to respect that flag. That flag could be so many Conquistadors. They could be coming right to your gold. Now, the castle could have been a little bit more forward. It could have actually disrupted Phosphoru. Could have maybe even just won the game if it took him off the gold. But you always have to have respect for this position, because pretty soon you're going to be losing villagers. But same thing as before. Phosphoru's thinking that he's going all in. I have to try and kill him. So he might be thinking about going forward now. But the other thing you have to remember is that castle was built pretty quickly. And that gold would be the perfect spot for the villagers. So blue's just inside of his castle. He's also going to make some siege. And now he sees that Phosphoru is here. Dude, look how fast the units go down when they're in a group. It's crazy, man. And it's not easy. I mean, it's easy for me to say you have to split your units up. But it's not easy to split up villagers when you're on a resource like that. So, Phosphoru kills 5 villagers. The rest of them are extremely weak. And there's only 2 Conquistadors. Look how many of these Grenadiers there are at the moment. There's 11 for Phosphoru. There's enough at home to defend the gold. And there's these still camping that gold right there. Blue doesn't actually have any gold income at home. So he's just trying to get the wood on the front now. And we'll need that wood to build the mining camp. But Conquistadors are like the OG overpowered gunpowder unit, right? So if Conquistadors can't compete with these things, I don't think anything is going to be able to compete. But that was pretty decent for blue. Has some weak units in here, but has the same range. And the Mangonel also helps out. And the Conquistadors have a little bit more mobility. So I think in Phosphoru's case, it's not the Conquistadors that are the worry right now. Sorry, the Conquistadors are obviously the worry right now. And so is the siege. But all this pressure's on his face. Whereas before, he's just able to wall some things out. And he's able to apply pressure immediately to the opponent's base. And what do they say? The best form of defense is offense. That's kind of what this is here. And the Mangonel, I'm really hoping this connects for us, because the Mangonel could actually be decent. I hesitate to say it's a counter, but it does feel like you're one big shot away from clearing up part of the group here. The problem is that the Mangonel could easily go down as well. And Conquistadors over on this side now. The other Conquistadors are still inside this castle. Phosphoru's starting TC is down. Phosphoru loses a Vill. Vill count's actually even. Blue is producing Vills more consistently. Blue had farming eco. This is something Phosphoru doesn't invest into typically. It can always work some farms in and, of course, buy some food, but your resources are stretched when you go for these all-in builds. And blue's got Phosphoru properly surrounded at the moment. Woodline disrupted. Gold still not really being fully disrupted, but it's not an easy situation to manage. Things got quiet, though. So Demo, or I guess Dinosaurio, he probably hasn't looked back at his base for a bit, and now he finds out where those units actually are. And now he has a decision to make. Like, can he wall these things out for very long? Doesn't feel like it's going to be that easy if Phosphoru keeps moving. Drops a couple houses here. Is on this gold, like I said. And the mangonels are slowly grinding down the ranges. Now Phosphoru's turn, it's like, okay, it's too quiet here. Now Phosphoru should recognize that there's going to be some trouble. And it's 25 bills versus 26. So we have 204 HP, 9 Grenadiers here, and then we've got 357 HP with 8 Conks. Let's see who wins this. Conks get a kill. Dude. These things are insane. These things are insane. I still maintain that the units shouldn't be grouped like that. I think you could split your units up with spread formation, and you're probably not going to take quite as much damage. So it does change how you have to look at fights, but that's a crazy value on that engagement. But on this side, Phosphoru wasn't able to keep up, and he loses a couple units. And there's a lot of micro that needs to happen on both sides. Blue, 23 vills. Phosphoru, 26. And it's just like, what is this game, dude? Like, this is Age of Empires in 2025. This base is ridiculous. It just looks hilarious. The population looks hilarious. 26 minutes, 38 pop for Phosphoru. But, I mean, Tower was a good idea. I'm not sure if Tower truly solves this problem long-term if you can't take care of these mangonels. Doesn't really prevent the push on the TC from the other angle. And Phosphoru still looping around. Blue being patient, even bringing a Scorpion home. Phosphoru going to counterattack again. So there's 3 armies he's looking at, right? He's looking at this army. He's looking at this army. He's going to go to the gold. And then there's also this army. So a lot to look at the moment, even for me. Blue hasn't pulled off of this gold yet, so he's taking losses. Scorpion's there. Scorpion doesn't seem to do too much. Maybe if you have multiple. And that's usually how Scorpions can do well in the first place. Fletching on the way for blue, which will help the castle at least. It's being patient with the mangonels. The mangonels, again, seem pretty good. I haven't seen a situation where, like, if it was Conquistadors versus mangonels, 4 Conquistadors snipe the mangonel in one shot. These don't seem to really do that. Hilarious how there's still a goat there, because that's a Jurchin goat. Only 2 ranges for Phosphoru. Counterattack over here. We'll snipe a couple vills. Lots of idle time for blue in that town center. But a lot of idle time incoming for Phosphoru because the castle's now shooting down the tower. And the siege is something to be worried about if you're Phosphoru. See, those units weren't even, like, super next to each other, and they still go down. It's just such a good unit. It really is strong. But he's got to face the music, dude. He's got to face the music, and the music is mangonel. That's what this game is building up towards right now. Blue might not have any more villagers by the end of this, but Blue's going to have the mangonels. And if Blue is the mangonels, Blue can kill all of Phosphoru's villagers. And Phosphoru actually GG's. I'm actually surprised that he GG'd this moment. I obviously saw this game and stocked up this game, but I think he felt extremely uncomfortable himself, and he didn't feel he could get the job done. Wow, I thought Blue had a bigger lead before the GG was actually called here. But in the end, I don't think there's enough for Phosphoru to be able to stop the siege push from pushing the TC, taking him off of gold. I don't know if he's going to have the units. That's kind of a bummer one to end on. But I think they were all still pretty good games. And I'm going to have plenty more to bring to you guys. I mean, Blue can't actively mine this gold at the moment. But the 3 mangonels in the Scorpion, they'll take out the range. Phosphoru is struggling to afford too much more out of that range for the time being. All of this eco is hit. I thought this GG came like a minute later. My bad, guys, if this was in some way a little bit underwhelming. But what a fun game. I mean, what an interesting strategy. I think the unit itself is very strong in the early stages of Castle Age. This unit still has all the weaknesses of a lot of units in AoE2 where they're slow. They're slow, they're not that mobile, and they're low HP. Slow and not mobile and low HP, those categories normally make a unit not so good. What makes it good, though, is when it hits, it has some power, it has some splash, and with the way Phosphoru's played with these castle times, I think it can be really, really strong. I think it can also catch a lot of people off guard. And simply right now, just the fact that it's new, just the fact that those bombs are so freaking big, and, you know, the boom is kind of nice, I think it's going to scare some people. So you might see this in some games. I'm not sure how good this is going to be. Maybe people will figure it out. But I wanted to show you guys what Phosphoru has been doing with the Jurchens. There are other civilizations I think will suit some of these crazy plays. Some other things I'll bring to you guys with Phosphoru, see what he's trying. But I felt it was cool to show you kind of what worked as well, right? Not just show you the strategy working, but also what are people doing against it. I think there's a lot of different things you can do, by the way. I don't think it has to be a castle drop forward. I think that you could still be aggressive without the castle drop forward. You could also play defensive castle, protecting all your resources, and go for a ranged unit of some kind, maybe, right? Like, go for some, I don't know, some camel archers, near castle near your wood, castle near your gold. And as always, when you're up against a player who's all in using the market, you just need slightly better eco. But I'll keep you guys updated. There will be a lot more games, especially with some of the other civs. And if you like this one, leave a like on the video. Let me know your thoughts, of course. And yeah, this is just cool to see. I know aspects of this DLC have frustrated some people in the community. I can understand that. I'm not going to dive into it too deeply. But what is so fun about a new DLC and new civs is how people try and be creative, both in creating something new and something crazy, but also in just trying to stop the crazy. And when it comes to the crazy these days, obviously Phosphoru is pretty insane. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one.